Man, this is a real nice tag belt. Welcome to the Wrestling Realm Presents Championship Culture. I'm Brandon, the Guy, and in this episode, we want to talk about stories about different belts. As you've seen over social media the last couple of days, I've been posing the question of what are your top five? Well, today I want to dive into what are your top five world championships. So, like I said, I'm Brandon, the Guy, and for more content like this, you can always check out the Wrestling Realm on YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, Anchor, any way that you can get a podcast, you're going to find us there. You can follow us at The Wrestling Realm on all social medias, including Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, with the handle of The Wrestling Realm. Please make sure you like and subscribe so that way you never miss opportunity when we go live. You can always engage with the good brothers. Where myself, the real Dwayne Allen, Brian H. Waters, even Brother Hugh explore different topics and try to give you a different take on the extreme world of professional wrestling. So, to dive into today, I'm always get the question of what's my favorite belt, which I answered, but I like to pose the question about the top five because a lot of times within people's top five, it'll tell a lot of stories about the type of wrestling fan they are, what era they like, what era are they in, what era do they fancy the most. So a lot of my top five come from the modern era. I don't have a lot of classic belts in my modern top five, but let's dive into my top five world titles. Now, the first one, as you can see in the graphic, it's all from modern era. When I say modern era, nothing from the NWA, nothing from really like back in the day. But tonight we're going to talk about our top five world title belts. The first one comes from not too long ago, actually. In 2017, this belt was created. And it was created of a brand extension of NXT. Of course, that'd be NXT UK. When NXT UK came onto the scene, of course, their first championship was the NXT UK belt. Later on, they took the WWE out of it and put NXT on it directly. But the thing I love about this belt, yes, I have Pete Dunne side plates on it because he was a champion for 685 days holding this belt. A lot of people will say, it was during the pandemic, before the pandemic, but the first and last champion was Tyler Bate. Yes, you can argue and say Tyler Bate lost in the unification match, but the last person credited to holding this belt before it was unified was Tyler Bate, and he was the first one. A lot of people like to talk about this belt because this is maybe considered the Walter belt because he, of course, shattered the record of Pete Dunne by having 870 days with it. But I'm going to tell you some recommendations about this belt that you might not know. If you are thinking about getting it on WWE Shop, please get it. The detail of this belt, the side plates, everything, yes, it's so unique to the UK, but it's a nice quality belt. I know a lot of people that own it say that they love it. The only difference in this one and the NXT one is the center plate right here. So the story behind it, why I have this belt, when I was watching NXT, then NXT UK, of course, I didn't know who Tyler Bate or Pete Dunne was. Watching that first inaugural match, the Crown Tyler Bate, I was kind of like, not a bad knowledge. But then watching their rematch when Tyler Bate lost it to Pete Dunne and watching the Bruiserweight really become the Bruiserweight in NXT UK, he did a couple stints here, and I was like, man, he's making me really pay attention to that belt. So, of course, my saying WWE Shop, they had a sale, and guess what I did? I picked it up on the sale. Then they had a sale on his side plate. So my side plate is memorable of the person that made me actually pay attention to this belt. If you want a good match to watch with the belt, always look at Walter versus Tommaso Ciampa. You will not be disappointed. That was the first time I believe that I thought Walter would lose when him and Tommaso Ciampa had that match Walter has this knack of making you feel like that was the most credible threat to him. But I will say that match could only be topped by Ilya Dragunov versus Walter, and that was in August of 2021. And I'm telling you, that match, not to mention it was a slap fest, but it was just a throwback to the old school way of wrestling, and I guess the European style of wrestling too. But this is one of my top 5 belts in my collection. Just to give you a quick look at it, it has the WWE logo in the middle. Side plates are customized to Pete Dunne. Center plate, and then the sides. The good thing about the center plate, it has the UK United Kingdom banner across the top, and it says champion at the bottom. Very detailed, but very simple at the same time because of the crest in the middle. But this belt, I really paid attention to it because of what Pete Dunne did with the belt. So now this list is not in any particular order. You could say it could be my top 1, my top 5, whatever it may be. I'm just going to give you my top 5 belts at this time. What's going on, Taekwon? How you doing, brother? Drop your top 5 in the chat so we can talk about it. The next one, a lot of people might hate this belt, but I've seen this belt have a lot of love and hate towards it. And of course, I'm talking about the AEW World Championship. And before Brian H. Waters says it, or Brother Dwayne Allen, it's not in my top 5 because Chris Jericho was the first champion. It's in my top 5 because when I first saw Bret Hart hold this belt up, all I thought was, wow, that's a championship. The multiple layers, I saw that. I can't tell if that's Dwayne or Brian making the comment. The multiple layers, the multiple globes on it. Yes, it doesn't have any kind of bird, no eagle, no owl, which I think every title should have. But it has symbols of the world on each of the side plates. 5 plates, the middle plate just draws your eye to it. And I know a lot of people have an issue with the WWE Network logo belts, but you don't have the same issue with everybody putting their logo in the middle because Impact has it across the middle. AEW, this is their logo. Granted, it's not taking up the whole belt, but you have an issue with the WWE logo, but not this logo. And I always like to hear people's thought on it because both belts have their logo on it. And your eyes are drawn right to the AEW belt. So let me tell you the story about why this belt was so important to me. When you look at this belt, when Bret Hart debuted it, he held it up. It instantly screamed, I'm the most important person in this federation. And that to me is what a world title should say. The side plates seem like they are branching out from the middle plate. It looked like it's a expanding of the center plate. The globes did a lot. And even having AEW on each portion of the sides, I didn't mind it. It really held home that it was an AEW world champion because everywhere you see AEW on the side, you saw parts of the world. In the middle, just said world champion. And yes, the nameplate is Chris Jericho because he was the first champion. That match with him and Hangman was very decent, but it's had a lot of reigns in a short amount of time. And it just seems like, is it really prestigious in the short amount of time it's been around? Or is it just the pass around? Because yes, we know the whole Moxley and Punk thing and the passing of the belt interim versus non-interim versus, actual champion. I don't know. It just, to me, this is one of my favorites. Even though it's only been around since 2019, I still hold this one dear. And I don't know if anybody actually can see. This is one of the heaviest belts that I own. And it's not because Chris Jericho. It's because when Bret Hart debuted it, it just screamed world champion. And I actually own 2 versions of this belt. This one is 4mm stacked. And when I say stacked, the center plate is stacked. I don't know if you can see it that well on camera. And every portion of this belt is stacked. It's actually triple stacked because you got the first layer on the bottom, the second layer, which is silver, and the top. This is actually version 2 of the belt. They're on I think 3 or 4 if you count MJF's strap. But the difference in mine and the one that's on TV, I don't know if you can see it here. The silver portion here is actually gold on the actual one and that they use on TV. And it was stated in a couple of the different things I watched. Kenny Omega, when he held this belt, was using a replica because it was a lot lighter. But this belt is pretty heavy, depending on if you get a 2, 3, or 4mm stacked. It's got some weight to it. So if you were keeping count, that's 2 of my 2 out of 5 for my top titles. The next one is kind of like has a soft spot in my heart because this is back in the time where myself and the Good Brothers, we used to go down to Du Burns Arena, and that's where our love for ROH came from. And the belt that I remember the most, because it kind of became like our spiritual hangout for us, was this ROH World title. I'm going to tell this brief story as to why I have this belt. I was backstage with some of the brothers, and it was during the time when Kevin Steen was the champion. And he came back there with this title, and I remember the conversation. He said, "Oh, look at us. We look like little kids with our toys." And he wasn't saying it to downgrade the belt. He was saying it, look at us with all our shiny toys and things like that. And it always resonated to me that he could be keeping that lighthearted. And Kevin Steen and Kevin Owens aren't really two different people. You just got to know who Kevin is as a person. But it was a good story and a good feeling that he was talking about this belt. And remember the whole point of him holding this belt. I remember watching some of his matches there. Wow, this guy is really serious. And this belt, I don't know if you can see it, it has a braided edge, just like the original one. But I always loved this belt because of the eagle in the front, and it screamed world champion. You didn't need a nameplate. You didn't need anything because whoever held this, whoever had it in their possession, this was the champion. All the different flags on it, all the different aspects of it, it just screamed world champion. And I don't know what it was about this belt. Yes, it's smaller. I think it was the nickel plating on the side. It just screamed. Good design, but I prefer the Jay Lethal. I hit it a lot. Everybody prefers the Jay Lethal over this. Jay Lethal, Cody, all of them, even Christopher Daniels made me pay attention to that belt. But that belt was based on another design. And I'm going to give you some homework about that. Just see what design that belt was based on, and it'll really surprise you which one that was. So let's look at, I'm going to pause for a second because I want to get to this. Wing Eagle, White Strap IC, WCW United States title, Big Gold, and Classic WWF World titles. So do you mean the WCW United States with 3 or 5 plates? Because remember, it was 2 different versions. And then for the Classic WWF tags, are you talking about the ones with the block logo or the Attitude Era? Which ones are you talking about? Because remember, some were gold, some were nickel plated. Just got to clarify. I want to see which ones you're thinking. Back to this belt. This world title, at the time, the roster wasn't a whole bunch of larger guys, so I think that this belt worked perfectly. And remember, this was during the time that this tag belt above my head was their tag belt as well. So they kind of just meshed well together. It looked like that was the most important people for tags. This was the most important person for the world title. And then the television championship was pretty interesting too at the time. And I know everybody prefers the Jay Lethal because of the oval design. There was a whole new ROH logo, but the black and red just pops on this one. I really, really enjoyed this belt. You'll hear us talk about our times at the Du Burn Arena. I swear one day we were down there for like 6 hours watching them tape probably about a month worth of shows. And we were like, oh, but it was still good. I mean, and that was when you had a $20 ticket sometime to watch ROH. So, of course, I had to get this belt when I start collecting because it reminds me of the time down at the Du Burns Arena here in Baltimore. The next one that really, really, really stands out and might be mad because it's not necessarily the Jay Lethal. It's the one after the Jay Lethal belt that everybody talks about. Now, I know there's been some contract disputes with this, and, you know, they're not paying the maker or the person that came up with the design, which I think is a horrible thing because this design, if nothing screams world champion, you can look at any portion of this belt and know that this is the most important belt. This ROH title was massive. The roster was massive. It just looked like no matter what, even when Matt Taven changed it to purple, it still stood out. No matter who held this belt, you knew without a shadow of a doubt that is the champion. Even to the point, they shrunk it down and gave it to the Women of Honor as their title. And it just felt like it wasn't the same. But this belt, when I tell you it had the perfect mix of gold and silver, it just screams championship. No matter what you do when you look at this, I don't know if you can see the crown at the top. And a crown at the top usually identifies like the world champion or that type of thing. The starburst in the middle, right around the ROH. And if you look closely, there is a globe behind the ROH, which is another one of those boxes that it checks. And then just the world champion being at the bottom. And I don't have a nameplate on it, but I feel like if this belt didn't have a nameplate, it would be fine. I don't need a name on it. It was just a good belt. Like everything about it, and they kept improving. Like if you like the one that I said about the ROH one, the Kevin Steen, everybody talks about the Jay Lethal. To me, this was one of the defining moments for ROH because it gave you such good belts. If you look at the belts during this time, the tag team belt was great. That looked like a world title. The television championship was a great looking title. If you took the world title, television, the banner for television championship, and if you took the tag team off, any of those three could be the world champion. And Samoa Joe is currently holding the television champion. But the main thing that gets me about this belt, if you look at the sides, the globe and the jewels are just perfect. It's just enough. It's just enough right there that's going to make you say, wow, look at that globe. And then it gives you the ROH with more designs around it, more jewels. And it's just enough red and white to balance it, to kind of homage back to the ROH red logo. I believe that's why they put a lot of red stones on here, because this was the ROH symbol at the time. And this one does have a belt set that just says ROH, and it says World Champion on it as well. So I actually picked this belt up because it was part of a sale. So one day, it was probably about 3, maybe even 4 years ago, when ROH was selling these belts on their website for $125 as like a flash sale. And I remember going on to one of the belt groups and seeing, go in there, go in there, go in there. And at the time, I wound up getting a couple belts because they were only $125. And this one was $200 on the site as well. So I wound up getting this, the tag, and the television title all at the same time, because why would you pass up any belt for $200? It's definitely 4mm, definitely stacked, and you can't deny a world title when you see this one. So back to you, brother. It says the tag titles I'm referring to were the ones during the Attitude Era. The U.S. title I'm referring to is the all gold with the eagle and the flags that Goldberg, Austin, etc. Oh, okay. So that makes sense. So the tag team ones, and the reason I think I like those, and that's actually Dwayne Allen's favorite tag belt. If you know him anything about Dwayne, if he ever talks about tags, he's probably talking about the Attitude Era tag belt. So shout out to him for that. And that belt actually seemed like it was such a good world title for the tag team. And I always say, whenever you have a tag team, they should feel like they are the world champions of that division. Just like the woman should feel like she's the woman world champion of that division. When it's the second tier, I'm on my way to being world champion. Because whenever you look at tag team belts, it should scream at you, I'm the most important person in this division. Not like I hate the word consolation prize, but it shouldn't feel like by the way, that's what you get. So there's 4 of my 5. The last one has a very good story attached to it. And when I say good story attached, it actually involves brother Brian H. Porter. We shared this on one of the wrestling round. And the reason I have this belt is because one of the people that icons of wrestling, and not to use that as a pun, was Sting. Sting actually debuted this belt in 2011. And it was during a weird time on TNA when Jeff Hardy was taking liberties and had that Immortal title, and they were transitioning out of the old belt. He had that Immortal title, the purple strap that everybody, you either love it or you hate it. And it was so weird that they just debuted it because his music hit. He came to the ring with this belt over his shoulder and the Immortal title on his hand. And him and Hulk Hogan cut this promo. And all I remember seeing is looking at, show me the belt. I just want to see the belt. And the commentators kept saying, oh, Sting with a new belt. Sting with a new belt. Oh, check him out. Look, he's got a new world title. And he has the Immortal title in his hand. So this belt, because it's attached to Sting, I feel like that's the reason that I felt like I needed to have it. So when TNA came into town, they were at the Bowie Baystock Stadium. Myself and Brian H. Waters went. When we went, we were sitting there and they were like selling grab bags or something. I think he'll probably be able to tell you the exact price. I think it was like $25 for like a grab bag. And we're over there at the table looking. And they made an announcement saying, for right now, and if you buy a ticket for $50, you and a friend you and a additional person can go into this bullpen and meet certain wrestlers. So they said RVD, Jeff Hardy, Bubba Ray Dudley, Bobby Roode, and the only name I really remember that stuck out was Sting. So I remember turning and looking at Brian H. Waters. He looked at me, And I said, we're going to be Sting. So everybody was all jammed up and we were doing this. And it was so funny because I was like, gotta be Sting, gotta be Sting. And Brian had his camera around his neck. And that picture was so classic because I walked up to him and I had him sign my ticket. And it was so messed up because I literally just said, he said, hey, how's it going? And I was like, you're effing Sting. And that's all I said to this man. He looked at me and I looked at him. I said, did I really just blow my one chance with this icon? And told him he was effing Sting. So that was my story behind why this belt has made it into my top 5. The Icon Sting debuted this, and the thing I'm going to show you what I thought was so unique to it, they took the world and split it and put TNA right in the middle of it. I don't know if you can see it on the side. It's like they took a globe and said, yep, it's all about TNA in the world. And I just thought this was such a neat design, a 7-plate belt. I was like, wow, this thing is amazing. The center plate just looked like it was a starburst of just focus on TNA and it's being the heavyweight champion. That's all we want you to see in the middle. And then on the opposite side, they did the same thing with the globe. They put the TNA in the middle. And I just remember looking like, oh, man, let me see the belts thing. He just kept showing it and showing it and showing it. And I'm like, this thing is awesome. And it was sitting over his shoulder, and he's cutting his promo with Hulk Hogan. And all I remember saying, I don't want to hear what y'all saying. Can you just show the belt? And he kind of wouldn't move it around or anything like that. And then as other people start holding it, this was one of the people like Matt Hardy held this belt. That guy was there. Matt Hardy held it. Of course, Bobby Lashley. We know him now as Drew McIntyre. At the time at this show, oh my gosh, his name was escaping me. He was in TNA for a while. He turned it in. I had to look it up. Why am I drawing a blank? But he was the champion at the time. Bobby Roode, Chris Harris. This belt gave a lot of those TNA originals their start. And it really resonated with me because I felt like this was the defining belt for TNA when they were at its peak. Yes, the NWA world title there gave you people like Christian, Jeff Hardy. It gave people like R-Truth and Rhino a chance to be world champion where they may not have been champion. And then you had the next one where Samoa Joe, Kurt Angle, all of them had it. But this is where this belt to me feels like it was the defining moment for TNA at the time. And there's Brother Allen. This title took a while to grow on me. It wasn't until Bobby Roode held it when it made me change my mind about this title. It wasn't a bad belt, but I observed with the original TNA title. So a lot of people like that Samoa Joe and Kurt Angle belt, and I know that's Dwayne's favorite belt. But this, to me, was when I got to see Chris Sabin become champion, a Eric Young become champion. And even so, when they later tried to bring it back with Moose, quote-unquote, with the white strap, and then it was unified, and then Kenny Omega had it, and then Kenny Omega lost it to Christian, but he lost it in iteration of being the Impact World title and this title. And even when Christian said, you know what, I'm going to put this back in retirement, because Christian never held this belt. He only held the NWA one during that time, and now he can actually say he was an NWA World Champion, even though it was under the TNA banner. But then it also was he was the Impact World Champion too as well. And if you really want to be technical, you can say he was Impact and TNA because Moose was promoting this belt as he was the real TNA World Champion. And Impact was in a weird time at that time. Brother Corey, what's going on? There's another belt guy. Drop your top 5 in there. Drop your top 5 in there. I'm interested to see what Corey is. You can't just say all Wing Eagle either, Corey. I know you're probably going to say blue Wing Eagle, white Wing Eagle, black Wing Eagle, Shawn Michaels Wing Eagle. You can't say all that. You think of Sting and Robbie Roode. Yes, Taquan, I do think of Sting is the one that made me want to get this belt, and I kept saying, man, I gotta find it. This is actually the second one of this belt that I own. The first one, the main plate was undersized, and every time I looked at it, all I kept saying was it didn't look like a real title. Now, granted, this is a long belt. The strap is very long, and the belt tip is extremely heavy too for this belt. I'm trying not to, because it's a double tip and it has the TNA logo on it, so that way you can see it, and it says TNA Wrestling. Do you have any TNA titles? Oh, Corey, do you have any TNA titles? That's a good question. I think I've only seen you with WWE ones. So do you have any TNA ones? Corey, if you want to jump in, I can get you into the link so we can talk about this because I want to know what your top 5 is and beyond Wing Eagle. Because I swear, all you like is the Wing Eagle. I'm sorry, 4 Wing Eagles and 1 women's championship because he has the Evolution belt, which I'm a little jealous of that he got the Evolution belt. Yeah, that's for you, Corey. I'm talking to you. But back while he's trying to catch up to me. And the other thing about this, even when Bobby Roode had it, it was great. When we live, baby. What's going on? He said, send me the link. Give me 1 second. We're going to send that link over to you so you can join in so I can hear yours in live time. So, ladies and gentlemen, bear with me. We're going to get Brother Corey the link, and we're going to get him into this. But while we're talking about that, this belt, oh, sorry about the glare, it still screams to me TNA. No matter what happens, it's just like every single time I think about TNA, I think back to this belt because there was a lot of memorable matches with it, and there was a lot of the originals holding the belt. So there's my top 5 in a nutshell. We got the TNA World Title, 2 ROH titles, the AEW Current World Title, and the NXT UK Version 1. Because remember, Version 2 has the WWE on it. Now, a lot of people ask me when they ask about my top 5, why didn't you include your favorite? My favorite is actually my favorite for a different reason. It's just not necessarily in my top 5. And if you watch the previous shows on Wrestling Realm Presents Championship Culture, the Undisputed WWE Championship is actually my favorite belt of all time. These are just in my top 5 because to me they are attached to different stories. Yes, sir, Brother Corey, coming and running. That's a commercial. Gotta love Brother Allen. So those are my top 5, and I'll be doing another show with top 5 mid cards, top 5 tag team, and top 5 other belts. And when I say other belts, we always know what a mid card belt is, and we always know what the other belt is. And when I say a mid card, everybody thinks about Intercontinental, but the other belt is literally the European. Because it wasn't a mid card, it was the other belt. Just like we have the X Division belt, Digital Media Champion. So hopefully Brother Corey is ready because we're going to talk about this. We're going. Oh, let me get your intro. You jumped right in. All right, so tell me your top 5, and I know 4 of them are the Wing Eagle. What's your other one?
No, 4 of them are not the Wing Eagle. You can relax. Top 5. I'm gonna say number 1 is the Winged Eagle. First of all, that's number 1. It don't have to be in any order. You can just spit them out. We know the Winged Eagle. Winged Eagle, Big Gold, and here's one that a lot of people probably don't really like, but I always liked it even as a kid. The WCW 91-94 World Championship.
I did not expect that.
Here's why. Funnily enough, because it looks like the Winged Eagle. If you notice, it's like a Winged Eagle mold almost.
Well, tell the people who made that belt, and they'll understand why.
Yeah. So I believe that 91 and 94, it may have been a Reggie. I'm not sure.
If memory serves me correctly, it was. It was a Reggie, right? Yeah. It was a rush Reggie Park because they needed a world title. And that's what he did. He said, I got you. Not a problem. And that's when he came in. And look at the comments. Gregory Q said his number 1 is the spinner. You know what? I'm going to say one thing about the spinner. We're going to get back to your list.
Yeah.
The less it was on TV, the more I liked it.
It's interesting you say that, Brandon, because as much as people hated it, and it's so funny you hear people, I hate the spinner. It's probably their most successfully selling replica they've probably ever had.
And even when they gave you that John Cena signature series, it still was selling because you got the John Cena fans. But you know what I liked about that belt? We got the first iteration. Then we had one that said Monday Night Raw. One of them said SmackDown, which you can never find. And then WWE solved their own problem by giving you side plates to put on there. Then it just said WWE Champion.
I hate it because I bought the original drop, the Figs Inc. drop of that replica of the spinner. And I always kept, and it has and mine is like a rare version of it because it has the Monday Night Raw plate and it has the silver belt tip on it as well.
I don't have the silver belt tip. I do have Monday Night Raw. Actually, I'm gonna grab mine.
Go ahead. You keep going. So the silver belt tip one that I have, that I was like, because that's what they were using at that time. But I hate now that they've released, and I'm sure Brandon knows that they released the plates now, the Monday Night Raw and the SmackDown plate now, because I wanted the SmackDown plate. Is yours
I wanted
the Fig
one to say, because now they all say WWE champion.
Yep. Now they all say WWE, because they're gonna make you buy the other plates now. And
see, this one has Monday Night Raw.
Yes. Is yours the Figs Inc.?
Yep, it's a Figs, but I don't have a belt tip.
Yeah, mine has the silver belt tip on it, in which they only had a belt tip on it, I think, for maybe 2 years or so.
And see, I don't remember seeing the belt tip, so that is rare because
yeah.
Well, I'm gonna tell you what's rare about mine, and I don't know if I shared this before. Look at the signature on mine.
Is that Jeff?
You know, oh, wait a minute, let me make sure it's turned the right way.
Yeah.
My phone.
Yeah, I've got Jeff on the back of mine.
But see, I asked him to sign here, and that's part of the reason I wanted him to sign it, because now, since I'm going after signatures, I try to get people that help me tell the story of this belt. Yeah. And I know you were there. Remember when he first won this belt and he appeared on SmackDown in Baltimore? Yep. And that's what people cheered. Then he went like this. He said, "I'm here." That was on the train front.
Yeah, that was dope. Yeah, don't even get me started, because but what I'm so mad at though, Brandon, that now that they've released those plates now, they don't fit that version that we have, in the sense that the plating is off. So the newer replicas are a deeper gold compared to the one that we have with the Figs Inc. So it looks mismatched. If you were to put it on there, that plate's going to stand out on that one because the gold is different.
Got you.
Yeah.
Well, so you just told me something, because I was really like, if it hits the sale button, I was going to buy it to have the SmackDown on there.
Yeah, but it's gonna the plating it's a deeper gold on the newer ones that are made by whoever makes the WWE ones now.
Because I know the stones are different. I remember that the stones are different because they're brighter stone now. Yep.
And the gold plating on that one, ours is more of a yellow gold. That gold that's on there now is like it's like a richer gold. So
got you.
Yeah, now it'll definitely stand out if you put one of those plates on there now. So now I've got to buy another spinner, because I definitely want those plates.
Want the SmackDown. Gregory, if you can, drop your other 4. You gave us the 1, and we're going to get back to Corey's top 5, because he said You said the Winged Eagle,
Big Gold,
and WCW
91 to 94.
All right, give me the last 2.
I'm going to say the one that you just had on earlier, the TNA Wildcat one.
Mm-hmm.
That one is actually very, and I don't have any TNA belts, because I forgot who did it. I was going to buy it at a TNA baseball show that was in Bowie, and then I just didn't, and I should have, but I thought, I'll have time to get it, and then it was gone.
Yeah, it was gone. Yeah, they didn't stay around too long. Their replicas didn't stay around long at all.
No, they didn't. That was the thing. I thought I had time because I was getting other stuff. And I was like, okay, I'll have time to go back and get that, but I never did. So it'll eventually come home. I do have it on my radar. I know I've got to pay for it, but it is what it is. And my last one, I'm sorry, my last one is the Undisputed Championship.
See, I knew you agree with me in some aspect. You was already with me until you like the Winged Eagle. You good until you like the Winged Eagle. Me and the Winged Eagle have a love-hate relationship.
Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of people, and it depends on where you're at and everything as far as watching. A lot of people like the Big Eagle. I don't dislike the Big Eagle, but I'm not really a Big Eagle fan. I think part of it is, and I know B-Dub, Nolan, and Hugh and Dwayne, they're all, my bias for Shawn Michaels is so heavy that he was gone during the Attitude Era, and I just never was loyal to the Big Eagle. I'm sorry, I just wasn't.
But that proves Brian H. Waters' point. That proves his point. Brian H. Waters said it. It's all about the era of wrestling that you were watching. Yep. And he said that it was like, because if you grew up in that era, that's what you attached to. And I'm trying to paraphrase what he said, and it actually makes sense, because I was a TNA guy. I love. Oh yeah, I love TNA. I was gun ho. I didn't care what was going on. I'd rather see TNA at one point than WWE. So it's like I think all the TNA belts, from the first one all the way to the last one, were just great. Yep. Like I just love them because it was so many moments attached to them. And it looks like somebody else agrees with you too, because Gregory said his number 2
Yep.
the Big Eagle.
Yep.
So
yep. Yeah. So and I get it. I don't dislike the Big Eagle. No problem with it. It's actually, I'll say this, even as a nugget to that, I prefer. It's weird. I prefer the blue one that they just released. I prefer the blue one with the croc back rather to the last black one that they had.
Now break that down for the people. Why do you prefer the blue more than the black?
It just, to me, it stood out more because I loved when the night after WrestleMania 14, when they changed the belts with the colored straps. I loved that, and the European belt had the green strap, and Intercontinental had the purple and the blue for the world title. I mean, tag team stayed black, but I loved that. I loved that they did all that with those belts, and that croc back. It just looked like a step up from where they were, and it was changing of the era. But I was attached to none of the guys that held that. So I do 100% agree. If you're attached to somebody from those eras, you're going to love those belts. And like, I was a big Surfer Sting fan.
You see what you said?
See?
He said the blue, but he loves that.
See, so that's why, a lot of people wouldn't have that WCW 91 to 94 in there, but I loved Sting and I loved Vader. So that belt, they both had that. So that, for me, I always
say that last part again.
Belt. What with Vader? What'd you say? Oh, somebody else is coming in. You got me?
All right, I think I'm back now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because now it's 3 of you. Or 2 of you and 1 of me.
There we go.
No.
It's because, no. Hold on. Sorry. So I can keep up with. Why does it keep doing that? That's the only thing for a live show. Anything can happen, especially when you're talking about belts.
Yeah,
so, see, when I think of that 91 belt, you know who I always think about?
Who?
Ron Simmons.
Oh, Ron Simmons. See, and it's funny. Yes, that's clearly what that is for. But for me, I liked Doom. I liked Doom as a tag team. I liked Vader. And that's, I fully, before anybody jumps down my throat, I fully understand the significance of Ron Simmons having that championship. Fully.
But I'm just saying, that's the only person I'm not necessarily associated with. It just feels like that's his belt. Like,
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree.
And you know what's crazy? I actually got the WWE version when they released it. And it wasn't that it's a good belt, but I don't know. Do you have the WWE version?
Of the 91-94?
Look what they put it in.
Yes, I have that. Yes.
This was a plus for me that they put it in this blue.
Very much so. Yes.
I was like, this is a throwback, if nothing else. And granted, it's just, to me, I was like, wow. When I got it in the mail, I'm like, man, they actually put this in there. And this,
you Brandon, can I throw an honorable mention in there?
Absolutely.
It's a world title, but not really a world title, but it is. The Snoop Championship is amazing.
Do you have one?
I do.
Right, we're not going to talk about you anymore. I think I need to cut you out of the feed.
The quality of that's the best quality replica until the shop rind came out, as people call it out there now. The shop version of the crumb rind, until that came out, the Snoop that's the best quality replica they've done. Because that one has next time, if I get up with you next time, I'll bring it with me so you can see it. That center plate is all metal, even the back of it.
Really?
Yeah. And so it's probably their best replica. Like the strap that they use, the plate, like everything is really nice on that belt.
Now, before we get to these comments, you made I want to give you a little bit of tidbit. So it's been reported as to why they had to change the strap colors, why the purple Intercontinental went away and why the blue Wing Eagle went away, right? Big Eagle went away. Apparently, within like a month of The Rock having that purple belt, it turned black because of all the oils and all the sweat, when they put it on. So they went back and said, just make it black. But then for the same thing, when Stone Cold had it, him being him, it was dirty. And they said they can't have the belt looking like that on TV. That's why they went back to the black straps.
You know what's funny? And me and Brian had a long discussion about this, maybe a couple years back or so. We were trying to figure out when Kane won the championship at King of the Ring 98, the belt that he had was it the blue one or was it black? It looked like the blue one to me, but it got heavily stained.
Yep, it did look like that because you could still see it had blue. I won't say spots, but certain parts of it was blue, like around the bottom part. It looked like it was a blue tint to it.
Yep.
I was like, maybe it was how the light hit because I remember I was like, they went back to the blue, and
it looked black, and I can see why people were saying he had a new belt already because it looked black. And I was like, no, it looks really, really dark navy, and that's how it looked to me.
So if you look what your brother said, the Big Eagle is more of a symbol of the Attitude Era, which is true. It does. When you think about the Attitude Era, that's that and the Intercontinental title. I know he doesn't like it, but I think every time I think about Attitude Era, I think about that tag. Those belts were so iconic for that time.
Yep.
And then he even said, "My loyalty lies." He said, "My loyalty lies with the Wing Eagle."
Right.
So he said Wing Eagle, not Big Eagle. And then, of course, Hugh follows up and say he agrees. But I thought he liked the blue Big Eagle more than he did the Wing Eagle. But this is why I like these top 5 because to me, I can't rank them. I'm going to just give them to you and say you put them whatever way. You can say one is more important.
Absolutely.
Because they all are stories. But then Greg finished off his list. Gregory, he said Wing Eagle. I think he was just trying to agree with you. And then Undisputed, which is a good man. Undisputed all day. And then, I didn't put the big gold on mine because I said it before. It's so many variations of it.
Yeah.
I own 2 of them.
There's a ton.
Yes. I own the WWE one, which I had Goldberg, Booker T, and Kevin Nash signed. And now I have the brown one, and I call it the Ric Flair because it was on the brown strap. And I just feel like that's such a good, to me, it's a good world title, no matter. Non-wrestling fans could just pick it up and be like, that's world championship.
Oh yeah, that's the one. That is the one. When they dropped that brown leather, Brandon, that was it was non. I talked about it. I tweeted and everything. That's like that one was non-negotiable. If there's a big goal, if I can have one big goal, it's that one.
And like there are a lot of good make ones out there. Like the Fandom one is very good. The deluxe one is good. But it was like the strap to me just made a difference. And I'm gonna show a couple comments. I'm gonna come back to the strap because you see, anytime you say Dolph Ziggler or Kane, you know the King of the Gump's gonna say something. We see you here. He said it did look navy. So he agreed. If nobody else knows that Kane's fact, it's definitely Brother Hugh. So and then he said, this is his last comment. He said, I agree with the Big Eagle comment. Realness posted again before I did. Okay. But I will say this about straps, and you collect a lot of belts like I do. Does it seem like the replicas are getting better?
Oh yeah. So I have it on good authority. I'll just put it that way. They are getting better. There is more attention being paid to the actual detailing of what goes on with these replicas now. The research going behind it, I know for a fact with the European title, when they first brought that back, in which I was actually the first purchase of a European championship because I bought it at SummerSlam in Toronto in 2019. And that's when they had just put it back out. And they told me I was actually the first one to buy any of them, like shop any. I was the
European one.
Yep. And
now, why did Shawn Michaels #1 fan buy that? I wonder.
Yeah, man. Listen, man. It was coming home regardless. But no, what they did with that one, no, Brandon, they actually had to go. They didn't have from what I was told, they didn't have a copy of the European Championship from back then at the time. So because the Figs one had so many mistakes with the flags on it, they had to go back and use screenshots actually from the network to get the accuracy of the European Championship. So the time is being put in. The reason they're not just dropping them just to drop them. They're trying to get them as close to what they were as possible. That's why all of these Winged Eagles are in which, I mean, unfortunately for me, I've got to buy them all again. Excuse me, but the Winged Eagles are dropping now. And the big thing amongst the belt community is, Brandon, were the sidebars not being attached. People hated that. And so now all of them are attached now, and all of them fold on the side, like the straps fall down at the sides, basically.
And you know, and the crazy part is, everybody talks about the leather, but I feel like the platings have gotten better. The leather is going to be what it is.
Actually, it's right here. Give me 1 second. I'll grab it. Hold on.
Okay. All right. So as Corey does that, I just want to look and see if we got any more comments coming. In a little bit, I've been asking in championship culture. I always ask the guests what's their top 5. So in a moment, I'm going to recap what some of our previous guests said about their top 5. And feel free, drop it in the comments. Let me know what your top 5 is so we can discuss. It looked like a lot of people like the Wing Eagle, Big Gold. Seems to be a recurring theme. So they must be iconic because these iconic belts keep dropping into people's top. Because even the realness stated, he said, European title was always one of my favorites. Dark green strap during the X-Pac D'Lo era.
Yep.
You know, and that's exactly who I think. It's about 5 wrestlers I think about with that. And those are 2 of them.
So as you can see, look at how that folds at the middle. The center plate just stands out by itself.
Oh my gosh.
Bars attached.
Uh-huh.
And this is the version 2, the all gold. This is the one that just came out.
I was gonna say that was the one they dropped with the
with the big gold. With the big gold, yep. So, and it's still got the plastic on it and everything, but
oh yeah, take it off the snap box.
Yeah,
does it say WWE? It doesn't say the F, but it just says WWE.
Yeah, it's still WWE, but and that's another thing, Brandon. I got over that. I was one of those people that was like, I only want to have the WWF, but I understand where they are legally with that. You gotta. I mean, the quality is there. If I don't have an F, I just don't have an F on it. I've got old Figs Inc. ones with the F on it. I'm fine.
And see, my Big Eagle black one has the scratch logo WWF on it.
Yep.
Which I would never ever do anything to. But my blue one was a maker baited, and it still looks good, and I like it. It's just thicker because back when you had the scratch logo, they were 2 millimeters, which isn't a bad thing, but you can tell over time that belt had some wear and tear. But the newer belts,
as compared to now, look at how that is. You can.
That strap is pretty flimsy. That's actually a good strap. It's floppy. I shouldn't say flimsy. Let me say the right term, floppy. So that is actually. And does it have a full belt tip on it?
Yes.
Oh, that's even better. And I wanted to say that I always felt about if you wouldn't get a WWE belt, get it from the WWE shop. They do their replicas the best. And now how they did the Intercontinental and your US, it's hard to duplicate that. And I think the overall title.
It's funny you mentioned that with the Intercontinental in the US, because I bought and people hate that Intercontinental. I bought that in the US both when they dropped. Like as soon as they dropped them, I bought both of them.
And I love them. I waited until they were on sale.
No. But I mean, usually if there's a coupon floating around for me, if there's a coupon floating around, I'll grab it. So
well, let me know if you get one for the world title for a coupon.
Just order. I'll pay you for it. I've tried for other people too. So I definitely will let you know. I've been trying. Every time there's a new coupon that drops, I've been trying. The only one I know for sure that I've seen floating around, not for the world. I've seen some some of the ones recently have been working for all of the other titles, including the Winged Eagle, but nothing has been working for the new World Heavyweight yet. That one they randomly, I signed in and I don't know what it was because it was in my cart. When I went back, I don't know what it was, but they applied 20% off, just applied it. I don't know. I didn't do anything to it. It was just applied. I think it's because I just left it in the cart. I came back and it was applied. And I was like, oh, I'm before they even trying to change their mind. Yeah, so... But no, nothing of that they've been advertising has been working yet. I do think that's going to change, though. Once it drops, I think that thing will go on sale quicker than most of the other ones, for sure.
Got another comment I want to show. So, buddy of mine, Craig, said, UFW World TV.
Oh, the UWF belt, yes.
But, I really didn't like that belt because I felt like it was based like the Intercontinental.
Yeah, but
He said the big gold, of course. Look, big gold, U.S. NWA TV belt, NWA tag. Oh, he gave us all of them.
He looking for his belts. Yeah,
he gave us his top 5 favorites, not his world titles. But that's good because it looks like this tells me he's a classic fan of the NWA style belt, which would be.
Yeah, I was waiting for somebody to say the Dome Globe because I was gonna put that in there, and I said no, I'll let somebody else say that one because that one's also a good one. The Dome Globe will always be the 10 pounds of gold. That's a sentimental one, honestly. That one's always a good one too.
So let me tell you my theory on the Dome Globe, the Big Gold, the Winged Eagle, and dare I say, let me just leave it at those 3. Those 3 belts are synonymous with wrestling fans because they are what drew you to this product. Those are probably some of your first memories for this sport. Those 3 belts at any given time, one of the icons of wrestling held that, and that's what probably drew you into the sport. If you think about the Big Gold, people always say, "Oh, Ric Flair." NWA, you probably can list off 10 people that you're always going to remember, and no matter if it's in the older or modern, whatever, whoever had the NWA belt, somebody's going to remember that from that era, like the Big Gold, and even with the Winged Eagle. And I put the Winged Eagle in there because, truth be told, as much as I might give it flack, it's an iconic belt because most people can relate it to their Mount Rushmore of wrestlers. They can relate it to the person that they start watching wrestling because, you know what I mean? Like, it don't matter if it was Ric Flair having the Big Gold or Ric Flair having the Big Eagle. It was Ric Flair reminded me because he had that belt, and that's what drew me into this product. You know, so even if you look at it, it's just like that NWA, you can't talk about wrestling without talking about the Dr. D belt, as I like to call it. You have to, like, at any given time, those 3 are probably the most iconic, even to the point that when NWA was using it, it put eyes on the product for it. Like, it was the world title. They gave people that chance to be champion that probably wouldn't be world champion if it wasn't for their run there.
Well, think about it like this too, Brandon. The Winged Eagle debuted on still the highest viewed wrestling show ever, which was the Saturday night's main event, or not Saturday night, the main event with Hogan and Andre too. The Winged Eagle debuted on that show,
and everybody responded to it because it was like, wow, that's a belt.
Even though technology of the '80s, Brandon, Hogan did a promo with the old belt and he came out with the new one. Whatever.
But look at this. Look what Brother Allen said. He actually, I was waiting for him to say it because I thought my top 5 is a kind of classic list, not in the order. So I'm gonna put them in the order I think they are for Brother Allen. Winged Eagle, IWGP version 4, Reggie Parks IC, WCW Monday Night Raw version of the Big Gold, and then the Big Eagle. That's how I think if I was to put them in order knowing him. But you see how he stuck in the IC. He said in my top 5. So those are just his top 5, period.
That goes along with what you said earlier, Brandon, with those how many iterations of the WCW championship there were. Because pretty much, I want to say, I think the Brown stopped being used when Flair left in '91. The Brown, even though the same tarnishing of the leather strap happened, the Brown one went with him to WWF. But I think the one Rude had was when Flair came back, when Rick Rude had the international world title. That one was the brown one, and I think when Hogan got it, I think it might have switched to being black when Hogan got it.
And that was during the time because it got a little bit smaller than that one too.
Yes.
To play, and look what he says. Doc stayed with that classic NWA Figs replica. Sorry, it's the Dr. D belt. That's what I always call it, because I remember. I think for about 20 years, that's the only belt I saw him with. Because he don't go anywhere without it. Dwayne was right. You were right, and he knows he knows about that Big Gold.
Yeah, so, that Big Gold that one is just and think about the pop culture significance of the Big Gold as well. Like you saw it in rap video, you saw people carrying it around. Like Pastor Troy was synonymous with that belt, like.
And yeah, they gave it to celebrities, and celebrities held it, but it was a thing where even though you would see it, a common person would recognize that as a world title.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's what I think made it transcend any other belt, because whenever you think about it, and that's why I love the new world title, because Triple H was smart with making it a tribute to the past. and calling it the world title. When people hear world championship, the such and such won. They're the world champions for this sport. They're the world champions for that sport. So, and I think it was a good thing that we have a world title in the WWE, even though we had the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. Now we just have a world champion, which kind of tie. And I kind of want to see sports teams with that belt more than the logo belt now, because you can still put the side plates on there, and it's still going to say WWE in the middle. It's just shrunk down a little. Instead of it being the whole belt, you still got that big gold feel.
And it says world champion. It doesn't even say world heavyweight. It just says world champion on it. That's definitely I agree with that, Brandon. That's a belt you can give the sports teams, especially if you want to sell the other one.
and I'm all about doing something funky with. If you're going to give it to the sports team, make the strap a different color with the side pleats. And it's going to make it stand out, because you think about it. If you got a blue strap with that gold, it's going to look good. You got a red strap, you got a white strap, and I think it'll be good for them to do that, because it's a world championship. So now when you get whatever you win in that respective sport, here's the title for you. You're the world champion. So at the parade, they run around with the belt instead of the WWE belt. It looks more like this is a trophy belt for them. Oh, that's actually a WWE belt. Oh, where did they get that from? Oh, I could go buy one of them? Because, y'all sports fans, y'all buy paraphernalia for y'all sports teams in a heartbeat.
I sure do.
So what I want to do now, brother, if you want to stick around, I'm going to play a video, because in the last couple weeks, we had a couple of different special guests. One of them was Ben Walker, who is one of the admin for Championship Belt Brothers and Championship Figure Brothers. I just want to play the video that has his top 5 in it, and you'll be surprised to see what his top 5 was. So if we can, we're going to play that video right now, because that. So let me ask you this. Top 5 belts by Ben Walker. Go.
V3. V4. NWA International Tag, NWA United National, and
I put him on the spot.
Trying to figure out my 5th one. For some reason, the 10 pounds of silk, United States title.
All right, so that was Ben Walker's take. So I always ask people their top 5, because you can tell what type of belt person he is, but not only that, what type of wrestler fan he is. You can tell he's like a little classic throwback belts. And I'm going to play one more clip. I don't know if you got a chance to watch the Wrestling Around Party, when we had our special guests on there, Lynn. And Lynn brings a ball of energy that you can't help but just feel it and be right there with him. So we're going to play this clip when Lynn talks about his top 5. And I always want to know about their top 5, because it gives you an idea of what type of person it is. So check this clip out from the Wrestling Around Party, where we had our special guest. And it was a Championship Culture takeover edition too. So here we go.
So all right,
yes sir.
Let me be on point. So already, I'm not gonna put it in an order for you. I'm not gonna, because I don't have 1 through 5.
Okay,
but I'm gonna just give you 5. I know what the favorite one is. I can give you number 1 last. But the U.S. title that B Waters is showing, that one's on the list. I love it. Okay, hold on. Let me pull them all up just so I can look at them. So I can.
Do you need me to get them while you say it?
Oh, if you want to, that's a flex. That's a flex. I like
bro, he does it every week. That's something the guy does.
I'm gonna stay still, because Brian already showing the U.S. belt. Okay.
So we got the U.S. big goal. I gotta say big goal. Because I'm looking at all of them right now. the new Intercontinental Championship. I like that one. The white strap Intercontinental Championship. I'm putting them both on the list, because those are hard. And then the final one, the number 1, the Wing Eagle, baby. The Wing Eagle.
Oh, talk about it.
I love it.
Until you said Wing Eagle. He had you lost the Wing Eagle.
That's fair. I know everybody don't like it, but I gotta be honest. The ones I definitely don't like is the blue universal with the blue
the Roman belt.
The strap. I just don't like the strap, man.
It had to grow me too, brother. Don't feel bad.
But yeah, that's the ones. I would say the U.S. Championship, big gold, both the new Intercontinental and the white Intercontinental strap, and then Wing Eagle.
All right, brother Corey, you see that? Everybody
Yes,
says
I
like
did.
that proves my point. Everybody says like that big gold and that Wing Eagle. If it's in your top 5, that must mean those belts are iconic.
Yes.
As you can see, a lot of people like those, even from the comments. And I always say about the big gold, you can see the one person, his name is the realness, knew exactly which big gold he liked, as you can see. But I always love it when people tell me their top 5 because it tells you what type of person they are. And I always have a story to tell as to why it's in my top 5. But trust me, the next, I'm going to have to do this again when I talk about top 5 second tier, top 5 other belts.
I got some for
top
that.
5 tag teams. You know what I mean? Because I always like to hear, because when you think about the other belts, you think about the TNA Legends belt. It wasn't a second tier; it was a different belt. You know what I mean? Like
how many names did that end up having, Brandon? What, 2, 3?
Legends, Television, and King of the Mountain, right?
Yeah, I think it's 3 then. Yeah.
Yeah, because the King of the Mountain is when they changed the strap a little darker. Yep. But I remember it started with the Legends, and then with the TV, and that's what Devon was on TV every week defending it, and it kind of got around, and then it went to the King of the Mountain belt, and it was like, what was the purpose of this? But then you also had the Grand Champion, so it wasn't the second tier; it was the other belt. So I really
okay.
And then when I was
thinking of that, yes,
that you sense. See that? Do you see that? Do you see this invitation that you got? I think you're a little jealous that you made it on the championship culture before you made it on to.
All you gotta do is book me and I'm there. That's all you gotta do. Tell me when and where, and I'm on there. Y'all know that. Anytime, I got y'all. Y'all know that.
And look, there's another other belt, ECW. You know what I mean? ECW television championship. Was that another belt or was that the second tier? You know what I mean? Like, you got to really think about like some of these belts.
And which TV type, because that's another one that had a Winged Eagle mold, was the old one, the 97 one, I guess you could say, or the RVD one, I guess you could say. Really,
I was gonna say the RVD belt.
That's the RVD one.
That was the one. Like, think about it. New Japan got the never open weight.
Yep.
And now that the Intercontinental is gone, the US is now the second tier belt, maybe. But then they have the television belt, and they have New Japan Strong. Is that another belt, or is that just a world champion for New Japan? That's a conversation for another day, because we could debate that. But I definitely appreciate you. Look, the way you said,
anytime, man, you know that.
Yeah, so this was a good conversation. I appreciate all the comments. It looked like everybody in the comments got their top 5 out. Anything else you want to talk about before we sign off?
No, just let me, I appreciate this platform to talk. I think you're doing great, man. If anybody has a mind to do it, it's you. And keep killing it, man. You know that.
You said the RVD and Shane. I forgot Shane Douglas. I always think about RVD.
Yeah, see, but RVD run with it. I know, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, Brandon, they changed the championships in between there, right?
Yeah.
During his run, right? Yeah.
Because he had it for so long, it was like he debuted the new one.
They debuted the new, yes, with him. Okay.
And speaking of debut, now, Lynn said that he don't like the blue Universal, and I'm impartial to red. I love red. So when I saw the Universal title come about, I was like, it's bad that it's the exact same as the WWE, but I liked it because it was red. But the blue one had to grow on me. Do you think the strap matters? The color of the strap matters?
I think the strap hinders them, because it's the strap or brand specificity of it, I guess you could say, with the colors has always kind of hindered it. Like, they could have called it the Raw Champ, but the brand specific blue or red, if they had went with colors that weren't even brand specific, like white and, I don't know, purple or something, especially for women's or something, because the women's, they're in a conundrum right now where Rhea's on there with the SmackDown Women's Championship on Raw, and vice versa. But now Asuka is on there with the Raw Women's Championship on SmackDown, and they haven't even changed the belts. Like,
this is definitely confusing me that we going this long.
Yes,
that's a title change.
You're exactly right.
Like I don't even know. Like I thought for sure by Night of Champions we was gonna get something different. And look, Dwayne agrees with you. That's a good point. And I don't know what I would have much rather the women belt if they were white. Like remember what they did with NXT women's belt? It looked like the men's belt. They just inverted the color though. It was a silver where it was gold. They added a different.
Oh, I love the women's. The women's belt was the better looking one to me.
You think that's silver? I feel like the gold on the men's popped out more because the X was gold.
I like the silver. I like dual plated belts. I do.
And see, and that's why I figured with the WWE, and even if they just kept the background white or did something different in the back, like instead of it being red and blue, you wouldn't have this issue. But then I'm like, come on, Triple H, you've been giving us this dust all this time. What's the holdup? Why you resolve this issue yet? Because I'm just waiting to see what we're going to do because I thought by now it would have been resolved, but it's still silly. They calling her the SmackDown Women's Champion and she's on Raw.
Yep.
And they introduced her, and even when it was like Asuka just won the Raw Women's title, I'm like, on SmackDown. Okay.
Exactly.
And both belts just say Women's Champion. They don't say Raw or SmackDown. So it's an easy fix with just taking the color off. Just say she's a Women's Champion for Raw, Women's Champion. And we keep toying around with the idea within the realm that a World Women's Champion and a WWE Women's Champion you don't have this this color issue where it's a red and a blue belt. It's the World Champion and a WWE Champion for women. Because remember, Rhea Ripley, for one point, was the NXT Champion. And then they realized they was confusing people because it was like, how is she the NXT Champion? He's the NXT Champion. And they put the women's title back. Woman get it. Because I was like, that was confusing. It was like, we want them to all be on the same playing field. But I was like, but it's the women's division.
It just don't work like that. And that's not it just don't work like that.
No, we look at her as the top woman in that division. Like, he's the top male in the division. It just felt a little weird calling them both the NXT Champion.
Right.
But last thing I'm going to say about belts, I think red does make a difference in belts. It definitely does. Did you get to see this belt yet, Corey?
Yes, I did.
Oh, have you seen this belt?
I love it.
Have you seen this one specifically?
Oh, maybe I didn't see that. I thought I did.
Yeah, this is the Wayne Allen version of our tag belts for the wrestling realm.
No, I didn't. I thought I did. Because your wrestling realm one is red, isn't it?
Yeah.
My wrestling realm one is red. No, this is different. I have not seen that one.
Yeah, this is the Wayne his tag team. So this is his because it has the logo that he came up with on the side. Let's see the wrestling realm in the front.
Mr. Creativity.
Yeah, this is his version. I'm gonna make sure I show it off. Look at his belt tip. I just want to make sure that you've seen this because it's been at my house for about a month plus now, and I'm gonna keep making sure that I showcase it that it's on here. But tell the people where they can find you, Corey. Give them your handles. Tell them where they can find you. Where you're from.
Look, listen. You know me. I'm in DC all the time. But I go to every show. On the East Coast, pretty much.
Look what the way he said.
Look. I am at My Kicks Are My Fix, MYKICKS AREMYFIX. Exactly how it's phonetically sounded out is where you can find me. My Kicks Are My Fix. On Twitter, Instagram, you can find me on all of that. And I talk wrestling, I talk belts, I talk sneakers. I dabble in sneakers here and there,
If you ever want the latest sneakers, just go to his page. Every day he posts something. Every day. I haven't seen this man in the same pair of shoes since I've known him probably the last. Oh God, what has been 10 plus years?
Yeah, I was gonna say it's definitely.
God, how long has it been, Corey? Well, you didn't have hair. Gosh. How long you have hair?
A fan? You said a fan of what, wrestling?
No, how long since it's been since you've been growing your hair?
Oh,
I knew you didn't have hair. Yeah, before your hair.
Right before the pandemic, like 2019.
No, I knew you way before then.
Yeah, so I had hair, and then I cut it back when I graduated college, and then I didn't have hair, and then I grew it back. So this hair's been here almost 4 years, and you've known me way longer than that. So.
Right. Look at this. So Dwayne is. Yeah. Look what Dwayne is doing.
Yeah, he's Dwayne. I can't.
He knows it's all fun and games. I'm gonna keep messing with him because it's fun. But I do want to say this. Want people to know that they can always. They can always shop for the Wrestling Realm merchandise. This was our fall/winter line, but I wanted to show it because Corey seems to be an Attitude Era fan. So don't forget, this is available on the Wrestling Realm
Shoot,
shop.
that's new generation right there to me.
Yeah, but that's the Raw's War logo. You remember that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
That's
to me, that's Monday
definitely a
Night
throwback.
Raw logo to me.
And don't forget, if you ever are doing what Corey does, and he attends a lot. When I say a lot of events, you can always save a little bit of money if you use the code Wrestling Realm. When you purchase the tickets on SeatGeek, save you at least $20. And you know the average ticket is about $50. So why not? As long as you spend $50 or more, you can save $20 at the Wrestling Realm. And don't forget, for more content like this, or exclusive content, I should say, go to patreon.com/wrestling_realm. And if you didn't like that design, we got plenty of designs at the Wrestling Realm where you can shop now. Always support the brand. Show the people that you are a fan of the Wrestling Realm so we can keep providing you with content like this. And next week, another show coming to you. This was an episode of Championship Culture and with a surprise guest. I appreciate you coming on, brother.
Anytime.
Definitely a good surprise. I said, oh, another belt guy. I had to say, let him in.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me. Now, excellent. Keep doing your thing. You are amazing, Brandon. Seriously.
Thank you. I appreciate that, brother. That means
Absolutely.
a lot. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Don't forget, check out Corey. What's the handle again?
My kicks are my fix.
And don't forget, if you follow me on any social media, I will follow you back. I'm Custom Guy 913 on Instagram, BA_guy on Twitter. And don't forget, like and subscribe to the Wrestling Room on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Anywhere you got something, just look for the Wrestling Room. It's probably us. Other than that, have a good night. Thank you for joining us.
Peace.
Houston, we have a problem. Yes!